And I think we're live now. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Very good, thanks. JJ, you look a little bit different today.
Yeah. It's turns out this is actually purple, but because of my camera, it makes it look blue. And now the t-shirt I'm wearing is really the same color blue that it makes it look like. So it looks weird. I know. I acknowledge this.
It's great. It's good. I love it. So what have you been up to, JJ?
Not too much. We're coming up to the end of the year here, so we're going to spend a handful of minutes talking about this. But what's going on with your side? How are you doing?
Yeah, so I've been away for a while. Very busy with our kind of end of year project deadlines. There's a big thing we'd like to get things done by the end of Q4, which is only a few weeks away. So it's kind of all hands to the pump. Very, very busy. It's nice to kind of get out of that for a little while. Maybe to, sit and chat with you and our audience and talk about our Twitch endeavors and CDF things. So it's a nice little welcome break, I guess. So I've just been busy with my day job and I'm looking forward to having a little chillax, a little relaxing time.
Yeah. So we if you didn't know, if you're just catching this now, Adam and I and Dewan for a little while, we're doing streams for the CD Foundation to kind of show off different projects and different cool things you can find around it. We wanted to just kind of do a wrap-up kind of stream or video, I should say, about what we've learned and a couple of the stats that we've had. Normally this is like a blog post or whatever, but in the history of being that Adam and I have such great rapport streaming, we figured, hey, what the hell, let's just make a video out of it. So, Adam, how about we ask this first just straight question to you? Because this was an experiment. We were trying to see if this was valuable. Off the cuff, do you think this was worth our time?
Yes, from our perspective, as in me and you and learning, but we didn't get an actual interactive audience on Twitch, which was kind of lame. But we do have views on YouTube, which is cool. So it's kind of, there are some positives, but not as many positives as I'd like.
Okay.
I'd like us to have a Twitch audience and to be able to get, maybe some crossovers and third parties getting involved, which we didn't achieve this year. But given that people are watching the videos, that's good. And some people, must be liking it. And hopefully what we found is useful. So if one person finds it useful, drop us a comment somewhere just to say, hey, that's great. Because at the end of the day, does my opinion really matter that much on this? Not really, because you're doing it for an audience. It's like if you produce a TV show, no one watches it. There's not much point in that. So I want to see somebody just say, this is cool, this is rubbish, or you need to do this definitely. That would be great. So I think it's been a mixed bag.
Okay.
Very politically correct politician answer, but I think it's nuanced. And so that's why my answer is nuanced. What about you? You can't say yes or no now.
There you go. That's a good point. So I viewed this as kind of how I've seen the other streaming and other YouTube channels and other digital content that I've been creating over the last year due to the world. So the best analogy I have, especially when I talk to executives and or like people like JJ, you're spending a lot of time in this space. We're not seeing any like feedback like it's positive. Well, it's like starting a meetup in your local town. You can start a meetup as a bang. People show up all the time. You have like a good 10, 15 people showing. You're showing off some Emacs or VI. You're just like hacking on code. Everything's going great. And then the next month, half of those people show up. And then the next month, maybe one or two people show up. And then the fourth month, it's a very strong possibility you're sitting in a room by yourself and no one shows up. But then 6 months later, as long as you've done it at the same time and been there the same time and done it, someone might show up and become like a sticky member. All of a sudden, they're interacting with you. And then someone else comes along. And before you know it, you build a little community. In our case here, with how much streaming goes on all the time now, we were obviously lost in a lot of noise. But to your point about the YouTube replays, shows that there is value here. The biggest video we had on our streams was actually our third stream on sorry, the rewatch was the highest number, which was our third stream, which was GitHub and Tekton triggers. It's a turns out triggers are hard inside of the Tekton ecosystem, and obviously people were like, oh, this is like I've been trying to figure out how to get this thing to work. They probably Googled Tekton triggers and GitHub, and now you have a video of me, Dewan, and Adam just fumbling through it, right? And you'd be amazed on how many people really want that kind of information. It's one of those arguments when you write your blog post titles, you put the problem or the error inside the blog post that you see, and then when somebody Googles for it, it hits that error, and then you have a blog post explaining what the hell is going on. So for me, the grand scheme of things, in a very long-winded way, I genuinely think it's worth it. And I want to continue going down this, especially it gives us an opportunity, as you said, to learn.
Yeah. So I agree, because it makes us basically have a diverse set of skills. I mean, right now I'm focusing on operators, 100% writing operators for Red Hat OpenShift. And it's nice to be able to step back and do these cool things. And, you want to be able to kind of gain a pulse on what the community wants. And what I've learned from that sentence there is that Tekton is quite difficult in places. And there's a reason people are going to that page. So, if I was a full-time contributor to Tekton, or I was looking to use Tekton, I would know to focus my attention, focus on the user experience, than a particular avenue. So you're using, that view count and the interactions. It'd be nice to kind of see our data being used in that kind of way. Maybe developing, let's say it's a new CI/CD project, or it's Jenkins X, you're going to use them. You can go out there and do your research and say, there's a lot of these videos on it, and actually it's quite difficult. It'd be nice to get that validation, just to have somebody say, yeah, I watched a video, and as such did this pull request, and as such I made this person's life easier. But I think that's just what we're missing. Just that tangible 1 or 2 person thing that says stay on track.
There's so you're actually highlighting one of the biggest problems with creating video content online, which is very rarely do you actually get real feedback. It's usually, frankly speaking, it's usually the people who complain that come back more so than the people that are happy. What is the saying? No news is good news is normally the mentality you take. But to play off of what you just said a moment ago, Manny Kath Reddy, who actually on that GitHub Tekton and Triggers video actually did comment, and he said, appreciate your efforts. Thanks for putting all of this together. So we do we actually do get a couple comments here and there. They're very, very sporadic, but that to me is one of those things of like, oh, okay, so that came in, and I hadn't actually looked at any of the comments because, as they say, you should never read the comments. So that was always fun. But here, let's quickly switch gears. So I pulled some stats. Adam, how many Tekton streams did we do this year?
We had 5 Tekton streams.
Okay, and how many Jenkins X streams?
3.
And then Screwdriver?
Just the 1.
Okay, so that's a total of 9 streams. We targeted every other week or so. We didn't always get to hit that, but we did pretty well on that. And how many total hours did we actually stream this year?
Close to 12. So 11 hours, 41 minutes, and 56 seconds of fun.
It's fun, yeah. So if you really think about it, that was us giving 12 hours to our community of venturing in, trying to learn stuff. And for me, that's valuable. And also, obviously, we spent 12 hours trying to learn this stuff, which is always fun. And
it'd be nice, Jay, just cut you off a little bit. It'd be nice to do an evaluation just to say how many of those hours were spent debugging things, and then to break that down into like networking versus persistent volumes or other kind of things. It'd be nice to do a little analysis on that, because I'm genuinely curious. Yes, you can evaluate what your audience thinks, but you can also evaluate what your producers think. And I'd like to know how we can get better as a community. You know, was it a build problem? Was it, you know, where were the issues? That would be a fun deep dive to do.
Absolutely. So so in the grand scheme of things, we were just kind of a little bit annoyed with no feedback. I mean, we do get random comments here and there, but actual streaming didn't actually seem to benefit us, or at least real time. Maybe we just picked bad times to stream. That's also a possibility. That's one of those things you never know. The ebb and flow of Twitch viewers are sometimes ebbing more so than flowing, I guess.
I think one thing has to be said is that we were doing things around 5 p.m. my time, and a lot of people are working from home with the COVID situation. I think a lot of folks, may want to do things away from the computer in that time. So for me, for example, I have a colleague that I work with called Enrique, and he basically says one of his favorite hobbies for doing a newsletter for our product is no screen time. And that means when it's lunchtime or when it's dinner time, you're not at your computer intentionally, because you're at the computer all day. You're working from home. You've had to change the way that you work according to the environment, right? And so a lot of people probably don't want to watch a Twitch stream at either their lunchtime or their dinner time. And we are East Coast lunchtime, 12-ish, and we are West Coast Europe, aka UK time, dinner time. So we're probably not in the best time zone. In addition, let's say it's the East Asia, or let's say it's the China audience or Japan, they're probably asleep by the time we're streaming. And so the India folks, I would say. Well, maybe the China folks are just waking up. But India folks may be asleep. So there's a lot of considerations for time zones. And I like to think you have to make good content and put it out at the right time. You can have the greatest TV show in the world, but if you're not available on, let's say, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, whatever, you're not on any of the major platforms, you're on at some obscure time, like 3:30 in the morning, and you run for an hour, you can make the best content in the world, but you're going to get a cult following, not like a majority thing. So something needs to be said, I think, for time. And maybe it's the case that we do things like we do for virtual conferences, by which I mean you record something in advance, but you play it at a later time and you're available in the chat. So if you've got a question, we can say, yes, that's a great idea for next stream. Then you lose a little bit of your authenticity, because it's nice to have an audience say, actually, you need to change this. So it's a double-edged sword. I don't know how to deal with it, to be honest. That's one challenge.
Yeah, I was going to throw the wrench in the whole idea and just say, why don't we move to YouTube and just leverage the Cloud Foundation's subscribers there, and then just make sure that we're not when we're doing just drop Twitch completely, right? And just be like, well, our audience is on YouTube, so we should probably stream this directly to YouTube. And then also we don't have to worry about uploading stuff, right? We can still use the same toolings that we have. We just got to change the API key, and all of a sudden we don't have to worry about uploading. It's immediately out there as soon as we're done. And we can actually have a real conversation in the chat where people can actually see it, unlike right now, where they only just see us talking.
I like it. I think we could. We could, but our audience is really on YouTube. And this is evidenced by these viewing stats. And you get a lot of good analytics of YouTube, and you can go through and say, folks are joining in from these locations and these kind of time zones. So yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Okay, so maybe we'll go to our overlords and mention that. But let's talk about a couple other things that we're looking for 2021.
Yep.
What out of all this big list that we have in front of us right now, which really isn't that big, what do you think is the most important thing that we should try to get in 2021 as our little stream goes?
An audience.
Hey, okay, that was easy.
I just want to be able to say, oh, look, it's that regular. So when, let's say everything goes well with coronavirus situations and people are back on the road and traveling and enjoying being outdoors, you can go to a conference somewhere, maybe it's CDCon, DevOps World, whatever, or any obscure conference that's nothing to do with us, and you can have somebody say, "Ah, yeah, you're that person from XYZ, and you did a great video on, I don't know, Tecton triggers, and because of that, my company has started using it." Or the company didn't start using it; they made them build something better, or they went elsewhere. Just to have someone know you from being technically good in this space and helpful. That is my priority. I don't really mind what else. That's number one for me. What about you?
Yeah, that's very, very valuable. I like it. A close second to me is I think we should recruit, try to get someone else into the mix here that's willing to stand up and be part of our little cabal.
Yep.
Having Dewan here was in initially when we first started, and we weren't so comfortable. There was some like weird ways of us talking. If you watch the videos, like you could tell that we weren't too sure what to do. But I think now that you and I are both pretty well experienced in streaming and have a rapport, I think bringing someone else into the conversation so it's a completely different viewpoint would be wonderful. Now, I'm going to just ask if you are watching this video and you've gotten to this point and you are interested in doing this, please reach out to us. There's multiple different ways. We show it every single time to reach out to us. So please do. And we'd love to talk to you and see if you'd be a value member of our little team.
Yeah, and please don't think of any boundaries. You know, like, oh, I work at a little company, or I'm a student, or I'm unemployed, or I'm a. It doesn't matter. You know, just let us know who you are, what you know, what you think you can, be comfortable with doing, and we'll gladly have a look at it and and assess things and say, yep, or if only you had these abilities and these kind of specialties, you'd be great for this stream maybe, or maybe needed for this stream the next week. Because I don't want us to be focused all on the CDF kind of skill set, the CI/CD thing. It should be, in my mind, crossovers that make it interesting, which means maybe you're doing web app development, or maybe you're doing iOS development or Android development, and you want to then use Tecton, or you want to then use, let's say, Spinnaker, or anything like Screwdriver maybe. It's that crossover thing that would make it very interesting, because then you can get, one, you get more views from multiple audiences, but two, you get these different perspectives, and we then learn more, both as an audience, as producers. So, for example, I did a lot of work with React a year ago, and I enjoyed making web applications in React. It was quite fun. How would I go about doing that same project with React using perhaps a CDF project? How do I integrate with Jenkins X? And then I basically would then benefit from knowing how to do it next time around, and going back to what I like, which is basically doing things React. So I think, don't be afraid of what your current skill set and ability is. Just let us know, because we can probably fill you in somewhere. Exactly. It's nice to have that diverse range of backgrounds. So yeah, please get in touch.
Okay. So let's kind of cut this down, because we're about to hit the mark that we were aiming at. Let's talk about some highlights, just to kind of walk through them. Adam, what was the biggest highlight of this year, apart from just working with me?
Well, a big ask. Okay, so it's an easy one. Yeah. Getting Jenkins X3 working. So I think it took 3 streams to get working. But basically, we tried using Jenkins X. I think it was Jenkins X2 at the time. And James and James were like, no, please use 3. And I thought, you say that, but 2's your latest and greatest. So we tried 2. It didn't work on our setup. And then we basically was like, you know what? Okay, we go to 3. And we spent a while pulling images. Some were quite large. We spent a while with, I think, webhooks. That was quite troublesome. But eventually, we got it working. It was quite slick, quite easy, quite nice. And I think, JJ, you did a follow-up video.
Yep.
Which was just Jenkins X, I think. And felt good. Maybe it shouldn't have felt good, because maybe it should have been perfect first time. But it was when it was quite in its early stages. And I think Warwick James was doing a product maturity matrix at the time, testing at different platforms. So being able to contribute to the testing of it and raising a few issues and saying, it worked or it didn't work and here's why, was useful, I think, both to that community and to ourselves, and hopefully to our viewers. So for me, getting Jenkins X just working, getting a simple project going, seeing how the Tecton thing's made, and then seeing over a few weeks how they made it better with all the new custom resource commands and other actions, you saw it improve. And I thought, that's quite organic because they're changing things as we're saying things. And it was good. So yeah, kudos to Jenkins X, folks. It was good. That was my personal highlight.
Awesome.
What about you?
Well, I was just going to parrot the same thing about Jenkins X. The journey we went through, even though it was challenging, the journey that we went through, we actually did. If you were a developer in this world and you were like, I've been told to use Jenkins X, right? Like by my team or whatever, and I got to get it up and running. I believe we went through that journey that you would, as that person, have to do. You try to learn it. You try to walk through trying to get it to go. And by the end, we were done. If you went whole hog into Jenkins X and that was going to be your platform for CD and CI, I could see some real value there. But to highlight what you said a moment ago, to highlight a highlight, I guess, Jenkins X moves really fast. So we saw significant differences in weekly changes, right? Like there were commands that just appeared out of nowhere. They were like, this wasn't here last week, like kind of thing, right? Which, fine, that's cool. That's great to show true agile development. But at the same time, I saw the power and I saw the beauty of it. So I came out not a convert, if you will, but I came out as someone who respects where they're taking Jenkins X, especially from where original Jenkins is and still is to where they're trying to go with Jenkins X as a true modern cloud native development platform. There's some huge pluses there. And then I'll say I did do some homework, and that's another thing I want to bring up in just a second. Remind me about homework. The flip side of it, when we went to Screwdriver, trying to play with Screwdriver at the same time, which was just kind of like an incubating project, you could tell the difference in platforms very quickly. Even though we got Screwdriver up and running in one stream and we actually got something to happen, it didn't seem as robust as Jenkins X, even though Jenkins X wasn't fully feature complete. So you could tell the differences in style and development and the target audience that they were going for, which I thought was really, really cool. And as someone I wouldn't normally have exposure to this, right? So I got to have this exposure in this morning.
Definitely. What was it about homework you like to say?
Yeah, and I think this is kind of probably a good place for us to start, wrap up after this statement, which is get it a wrap up over. Anyway, yeah, come on.
Okay.
So one of the stats one of the things we decided as an org or producers of this was that we didn't want to do any homework beforehand. Like we would just literally take something off the shelf and be like, this is us actually learning at real time. I'm starting to have a little bit unsure if that's the way we should go in 2021. Yeah. Because I feel like there's to your data point and deep dive earlier, there was a lot of time that we were just lost because we just didn't know, right? And my gut tells me that maybe we should not like spend hours and hours prepping for a stream or anything, but maybe it's worth spending a little bit more time than none on doing this. But that requires a little bit more rigor and a little bit more forethought. So where are you coming from in this idea?
I agree. So at the moment, in my spare time, making a lot of video games on Unreal Engine, and I YouTube a lot of the content. And often it's night and day between seeing somebody making a video where it's like 40 minutes, try to do like a blueprint to make a character like, jump over a cliff or something with physics enabled, and then a 5-minute video that's, really well edited, cut and polished, to the point, very clearly done, no errors. And if you follow along for 5 minutes, you've got it and you can copy and paste it and it works. It's night and day. You'll see videos of, let's say, 10 views or 10,000 views. You can tell which one is the really cutting edge, condensed, nice one. And you only get to that point by doing your homework.
Mm-hmm.
And I initially thought that by doing it our way would make it more kind of authentic and users may see these errors. But in reality, if you use it right and you follow the instructions, and if there are no errors in the code base, you shouldn't need to go through any of our pain.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of what we say is therefore noise and therefore irrelevant. And therefore, you don't want to spend 40 minutes instead of having lunch with your children or your family. Well, I guess it's that kind of thing. Then you basically don't want to spend 40 minutes of your time watching a video and most of it's noise. You want little small things. So instead of spending 1 hour doing a stream where most of it is chaos, you spend 1 hour of it and 3/4 of it is homework, 15 minutes of it is recording, and the rest of it is awesome editing, and then running it by stakeholders and then saying, here it is.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's the way to do it.
Maybe, yeah, it's a good idea.
I mean, who'd have thought? It's not like, movies and TV shows are made in the same way. I mean, they don't just live stream random actors just say it. Go and make it a play movie, and they're like, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a basic script, which is like Leonardo DiCaprio goes and saves the world, and it's just like, okay.
There you go.
But yeah, I think maybe that's the way to take things forward in the future.
Awesome. Well, Adam, I'd like to just take a moment and say, if it wasn't for CD Foundation, we would have never crossed paths. Yep. And I truly do consider you a friend. And I am looking forward to continuing this journey with you in 2021.
Likewise, can't wait. It should be good. And I can't wait to see what kind of crazy hair you're going to have by then. Maybe it'll be pink, red,
there you go.
purple. It's going to be great.
You never know. All right, so you want to say goodbye?
Yeah, thanks everyone. Please leave us some comments and get in touch, and hope to hear from you all again soon.
Bye.
Bye.